So I got my Catholic Bible, my Septuagint. Okay. Yeah. So, um, okay, so let's see. Oh, jeez. Okay. Yeah, I think that page that tells me what.
Very large book.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I'm Brother Doug with the Bible Assembly. Today, we are going to be doing. Hold on, this stupid thing. I'm trying to close it out, but it's like ticker. Okay, hold on. Hold on, guys. It's acting up a little bit. All right, there we go. So we're going to be finishing up our Ruth.
Uh-oh. What did it do?
This message is being live streamed by. Okay.
It just froze. It might not do that if we're up on my
Well,
bed.
then go up on your bed and I'll just listen from here. Okay?
No. Oh, I don't want to.
No, it's fine. I can hear it. It's fine.
It's just that Doug got cut out for a minute.
Okay. Everybody.
Yeah.
Chairs.
My bad, guys. So got disconnected. But what I was saying on the live here was we're going to be finishing Ruth, and we're going to be going into Yahuwah willing 1 Samuel 1 and 2. So I'll start us off. I will be reading from my Tom Horn, Lancelot Breton's English translation of the Septuagint, the LXX here. And I just want to say, rest in peace for the guy. He did a lot of good stuff. He recently passed away, and I just want to, just say, rest in peace, Tom Horn. I'm very, very thankful for the research he's done in the past, and all of that. So I will be reading from his edition of the Bretons here, Septuagint here. So just give me
without knowing.
Yeah, he recently, I forget how long ago. I think it might have been a month or two ago.
Wow.
So, yeah.
What page is Ruth on in the Septuagint?
If you have Tom's, it's going to be 205, I believe.
Well, I've got the Sir Lancelot C.L. Brenton.
Yeah,
version.
is it the big brown one?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so you have the same one as me. It's going to be 205.
Okay.
You're welcome. Yeah, so let's see here.
My cat is in heat. And she,
oh no,
like, she was wow, wow, wow all night long.
Oh wow. Yeah, I've seen that in person before. That is torture, man. That is torture for those animals.
Yeah, it really is. She sounds like she's in pain. She's just crying all night.
She's settled right now.
Yeah, I remember when Milo's cat was going through that. It was really bad to see that in person. It was really something I wasn't used to seeing from animals. That is bad. No.
Yeah, I have seen a cat go eat. Every cat I've ever had has been indoor outdoor. So they just go outside to find a mate at that time, and you just never know that they're going through that. But this cat, because they won't let me let her outside here, she's stuck in the house 24/7, and she's going through this all by herself, and it's hard to hear. It really is.
Definitely. Yeah. All right, audience. We won't keep you guys any longer here, okay? So Ruth chapter 4, here we go. And Boaz went up to the gate and sat there, and behold, the relative passed by of whom Boaz spoke. Boaz said to him, "Turn aside, sit down there, such a one." And he is turned aside and sat down, and Boaz took 10 men of the elders of the city and sit you here. And they sat down. And Boaz said to the relatives, the matter regards the portion of the field which was our brother Elimelech's, which was given to Naomi. Now returning out of the land of Moab, I said, I will inform you, saying, but if you before those that sit and before the elders of my people, buy it before the elders. If you will redeem it, but if you will not redeem it, tell me, and I shall know, for there is no one besides you to the office, besides you to do the office of a kinsman, and I am after you. And he said, I am here, I will redeem it. Boaz said, in the day of your buying the field of the hand of Naomi and of Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of the deceased, you must also buy her, so as to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance. And the kinsman said, I shall not be able to redeem it for myself, lest I mar my own inheritance. Do you redeem my right for yourself, for I shall not be able to redeem it. And this was in the former time the accordance in Yashrael for redemption and for a bargain, to confirm every word. A man loosed his shoe and gave it to his neighbor, that he would redeem his right, and this was a witness in Yashrael. So I have to repent of what I said last time when we were doing chapter 3. This doesn't seem like it has to do with a brother raising up seed, so I have to repent of that. I thought that's what this situation was. It seems like this is a different area of the Torah, so I just wanted to repent of that right now. I misspoke last Shabbat. Go ahead, brother Yehusha.
I would like to find this place in the Torah, because it's like I was looking for like any place that it talked about loosening the shoe, and the only place that I seemed to be able to find was regarding a brother and raising up seed, the brother raising up seed. I was not able to find like just a regarding like just like a near kinsman. I'm sure it's in there, but I wasn't able to find it. So I'd like to know where they're pulling from.
Yeah, because I think every version says that in Ruth here, so they gotta be pulling from somewhere. Let me just double check real quick. I want to see what the Vulgate, how it reads here. Chapter 4. Chapter 4, I'm at verse 7 here. Right as I cannot use the right of redemption, exercise the right yourself. Now, in the former times, it was the custom in Yashrael. Now, interesting, custom. I wonder if this was kind of like just a custom that they did to seal a deal of like being a redeemer, because I know there's a law in the Torah. I've definitely seen it in Deuteronomy about to redeem a plot of land. Definitely, I just don't know about the shoe thing. The shoe thing, from the way the Vulgate reads, it says this was the custom.
Yeah.
Now that sounds like it's saying it's a tradition of loosening the shoe. Like, we know that there's a commandment about loosening the shoe about the brother taking his dead brother's wife. We know all about that. But loosening the shoe just to redeem a plot of land, that might have just been a custom. I definitely want to look more into this when I have time. I definitely want to look more into this. But from what it sounds like, I don't think it could be him raising seed to his brother, only because the story is just not mentioning anything about this guy being related to her dead husband. So It's
coming up is Deuteronomy.
Yeah, I definitely want to look more into it. I'm not too sure, and I just want to put it out there for the audience. Don't take my word for this. I'm just second guessing what I said last time. I don't exactly see the same terminology being used that you usually when they would raise up seed, like in the book of Genesis, how Tamar, her basically her second husband was the brother of her first husband, and what he was supposed to do, he didn't do.
I wonder if the old saying, fill someone's shoes or if shoe fits, wear it.
Yeah,
That's true.
because it's almost like it's saying that it's sealing the deal. It's of the redeeming the field. It's like it says according to the Vulgate, it says it was a custom a man would loosen his shoe and give it to his brother that redeemed his right. This was a witness, so it was used as like seems to be saying it was used as a witness, almost like a second or third witness. Like, I definitely want to look more into this because that's what I'm seeing though, is that it might have just been a custom. Just like Israel had in Amos, you'll see it talk about they had traditional fast days that Yahuwah said prophetically, I'm going to turn your fast days that you have made for yourselves into feast days. Like basically allegorically talking about, your days of mourning into joy. So, they definitely had traditions back then. Not that it's bad. It's just that there's definitely customs that they had that weren't exactly thus say Yahuwah. They definitely had customs in the Hebraic culture that we're not really privy to or know about that was not exactly in the Torah, but it was more like I guess a guardrail, you could say. It was like a way to make sure of it or have physical evidence even that he promised to take the field. He promised, because now you give him your sandal, your shoe. Now the rest of the elders are seeing this. I think this has to be done in front of the elders too, if I'm not mistaken. And they would witness this. They'd be like, okay, so this guy's supposed to redeem the field, so he can't go back on it. So that's kind of just spitballing right now, just spitballing why they would need that type of custom.
Well, there was some video I watched. It's probably been a while now since I watched it, but they showed someone taking off their shoe and giving it to a friend or whoever. So in other words, they were doing this to confirm something.
I think it's very possible. Hold on, let me put my headphones on. I think it's very possible too that this man, I think you mentioned last week, this man could have been her dead husband's brother. It doesn't really mention. What it does mention is that Boaz is. Naomi mentions in chapter 2 that Boaz is one of their closest relatives, or nearest kinsmen. So if they're like one of the closest relatives, I mean, what would be closer than one of the closest relatives, but a brother?
Yeah, that's true.
Very possible. It doesn't really say.
Yeah, the only reason I was like deterred from that is that usually from what I remember, you're only supposed to loosen the sandal off of the person that refuses to take his brother's wife. And it was actually looked at a bad thing. From what it seems here, it's not looked at as a bad thing. The when the brother, the law of the brother that Brother Yahushua's talking about, it's actually a bad thing that he doesn't want to take his. And usually it would have nothing to do with him worried about his own property. Usually, if I remember the law of the brother, it's like if he for any reason doesn't want to take his dead brother's wife, he would a sandal would be loosed off his foot, like basically against his will. It would be taken off his foot, and he would be spit in the face, not just the sandal. So that's the only thing. I don't know. It seems like a different context here.
It does.
In this situation, because from what I remember, like, it's not just a sandal, you would be spit in the face. And the people, like, of that town, I forget it. Wouldn't he also be cursed, that brother? Or is it be something like that? It would be something, I know you would be at least looked down upon by the elders of the city. So it seems like there's a different context. I could be wrong, but it seems like there's like a subtle different context to that law. But it's hard to tell because they're not giving you much information about how close of a relative Boaz is and how close this other guy is to Abimelech. So,
well, from what I gathered from last week is that Boaz was concerned because he was a good bit older. There was something mentioned about his age to Ruth, and he might be
an uncle somehow.
Something like that. Yeah.
He might have been in a weird way. He might have been, or he could have been an older brother. He could have been an older brother to her dead husband. And obviously we know the women in Israel, like I said, they don't marry when they're old. So the men are going to be a significant amount older than the bride. It's just the way it goes. Like there's no such thing as what you call, was it statutory rape? There's no such thing as that in ancient Israel. You had men and women not being the same age. Like they would at least be 10 years apart. So yeah, I could say maybe that would put him as like a cousin or a older brother of her dead husband, someone that might have been like a decent bit older than her. Because even the
10 years older.
Yeah, like because from what I know from even tradition, Miriam, when she married Yosef, they were nowhere near the same age.
Oh no!
Even from tradition, they believe that she was maybe
15.
Maybe 15, 16.
Yeah, she was born, I think, 18 or 19 BC.
So it even with Yahusha's stepdad and his mother, it would have been a gap in age. So that's just the way it went back then. There was no such thing. Like I said, statutory rape is like really an American thing. The Middle East doesn't look at like age like that. Like, because women, you got to understand, women are more mature in those countries. They're raised better. So a woman between 15 and 18 years old essentially is a woman. They don't look at her as a little girl like today's society. They look at, a 15, 16-year-old girl like she's still a minor, this and that. In the Middle East, they don't look at it that way. It might sound like we might think as it's unrighteous, but in actuality, there's a lot of things in our Greco-Roman world that don't match with the way the culture of the Hebrews did things. So, I think it has to do with the maturity level of this generation.
It's also too biologically, women biologically, they start to mature faster as well. If a woman is being taken at 15 as a wife, then that means that she's already biologically, started having her, her monthly cycle to where that she can actually have children, versus, like a man just matures at an older age than, biologically matures at an older age than a woman does.
That is true, and actually science would back up your point. I think women, how young can they have eggs?
Oh, it can be as early as 12 and 13.
Yeah,
but
so
generally by like 15.
If a woman's like between 15 and 17 already getting married, she would already be fully able to have children. So yeah, it's biologically we can prove that women mature faster than men. So we're just stained in this society of a man can't be too older than a woman and this and that. And, like even I'll even put it this way: they would consider statutory, like the way this land's laws are. Let's say a guy's like maybe 20, 22. He takes a girl that's like 17. They would consider that statutory rape, even though it's only a 5-year gap. They would consider that statutory. So there's a lot of laws in this country that are kind of stupid. And they consider that rape even when it's consensual because the girl is under 18. And supposedly a girl has to be 18 to be adult. So there's a lot of stupid man-made rules in our society that that paints our thought process a certain way. And so even in the church, I remember growing up, like trying to blend that law of statutory rape with the Bible. You can't, because quite frankly, a lot of these women were around that age getting married. A lot, so the idea we have in this country in America is unbiblical, that a girl has to be 18. That is unbiblical. Same thing with alcohol. I could go on with all these laws. There was no such thing as ancient cultures that a man or a woman had to be 21 years old to have a beer or have a glass of wine. There's no such thing in ancient cultures. So there's a lot of things we do that's like, just stupid in this country, just stupid. So, I say that because there's a lot of people out there that, are new to Torah. They've been raised in a Christian upbringing. You always want to keep that in mind. Like, the laws of this country, just because we think that's moral, we don't have the mind of Yahuwah, and we don't have the mind. We're not raised with what the ancient cultures that the scriptures were written in the context of. So, it's just historically proven. You can prove that women got married a lot younger in ancient cultures. That's just the way it happened. So, we also have to realize too that there's a lot of laws in our government here that are not really of Yahuwah. So you got to realize that too. But anyway,
I know if I been told I was getting married at 15, I would have freaked. I didn't want to get married at 15. I was
because we're raised to want to stay young forever. It's just our culture.
It is.
It's our culture. We don't get like I can speak from my own experience. We as guys growing up, like our dads are too worried about being our best friend rather than raising us to be men. So
it's true
in this culture. So there's a lot of things wrong, sis, with our upbringing. There's a lot of things that cause us to feel that way, because we're really like, this whole society is about, having fun, wanting to stay young as long as you can, wanting to delay adulthood. In the Hebrew culture is the other way around. It's like, okay, your daughter is 15, 16, possibly 17, they would already be thinking about arranging a marriage at that point.
Yeah.
in Hebrew culture, I think, I don't know, possibly religious Jewish families probably still do it to this day. Like that, once your daughter is starting to get, up there in the high teens, then, you have to start getting her ready to maybe arrange for her to be married. I think another thing too is, they probably want the wife to be as young as possible, idealistically, so that, when you're raising children, especially in the Hebrew culture, they had more than one child usually in families. So to wait until your wife is like 30, 40 years old to have children ain't exactly ideal when you're trying to have a big family. So, that's another thing too, is,
no, they didn't do that at all.
So, they wanted the wife to be as young enough just in case the dad passed away, which, isn't that what they kind of hint at, like with Yosef, that he passed away a good bit before marrying?
Yeah.
So, you would have still had her around, with Yahusha while Yahusha's ministry was going on. and Yosef would have already been dead, supposedly.
Yeah, she was around 45 when Yahusha started his ministry, and he clearly was probably upper 60s or 70s.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that's just ancient culture. That's all I can say. That's just the way the ancient cultures did it, and they still do it. If you go to the East, the Middle East, and the continent of Africa, I think even Africa does it. Like, you go to Ethiopia or whatever, they're not waiting for, women to be in their 30s to get married. So
that happened in this country because of women's lib and because of women wanting careers. That's why that whole thing about 30s and whatnot, starting families. And unfortunately, some of these women screwed themselves up because, according to the body, according to medical science, the 30s is the hardest time in a woman's cycle to have. They don't get pregnant as easily. So that's why we started having these gift programs where they had to have petri dishes and whatnot. Yeah. So, but that was because of women's lib.
Yeah. And I'll tell you,
children, so I don't know. I don't know why, but it seems to run in my family that the women don't have children. My mother had 5 sisters, and only one of them had 2 children. Besides her, she had 4. But my great aunts, neither one of them could have children, and they were both married for over 30 years. So I don't know. I don't know what causes that, but I do know that my family is full of it.
I think sometimes Yahuwah just does it for different reasons. I think one of the main reasons I've always believed, this is just my personal belief, is that, Yahuwah knows that certain children have to be adopted, and he looks at it like, he's choosing you as someone to be a mother to a child that got disregarded.
That's true.
Yeah,
I believe that too.
I kind of look at it that way. Like, he always has a bigger purpose that sometimes we can't see. And
what's interesting about my mother, because you all know I was adopted. My mother actually got pregnant when I was 2 years old. They had adopted me at 2 months old, and she always felt that they no longer had the stress of trying to get pregnant, so they became relaxed, and unfortunately she lost the baby, but it's interesting.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so back to the chapter here. I think we're at verse 8 here. The kinsman said to Boaz, "Buy my right for myself," and he took off his shoe and gave it to him. And Boaz said to the elders of the people, "You this day witness that I have bought all that was Elimelech and all that belonged to Chalon, Mahlon, and Mahlon of the hand of Naomi. Moreover, I have bought for myself a wife, Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of Mahlon, to raise up the name of the dead, his inheritance. So the name of the dead shall not be destroyed from among his brethren, and from the tribe of his people you are this day witnesses." Now, what this expounding here in these verses, it kind of reminds me of, this might be referring to the law of, who were the daughters of that one guy in Numbers? That one tribe in Numbers where the daughters were worried about having an inheritance.
Oh, yeah. I don't remember.
This might have to do with that.
There were 5 women, I think, 5 daughters.
Yeah, and
they
basically
all received their father's inheritance.
Yeah, and it says that as long as they have a nearby relative, they would have an inheritance. That might be what this is, because it talks about, right, even if they have a uncle. An uncle could even take the inheritance, or a cousin could take the inheritance. It just has to be a nearby male relative. Now, my memory is kind of being jogged right now. Go ahead, Brother Yahusha. Let me see if I can find that.
I could be wrong on what you're talking about, but I think possibly you're talking about Caleb's daughters.
Yeah, it was him, bro, or one of the other guys of the other tribes in Numbers, where their dad died and the daughters. I'm trying to think. They asked Masha. Trying to think, the daughters of who? Who was that guy? I don't think it was the tribe of Judah. It was another tribe. It might have been of the northern house. I'm trying to think if it was Reuben or Gad. It's like one of those type of tribes. I'm trying to remember. I know it's in the book of Numbers. Daughters asked Moses or
they had to marry men that were of the same tribe as their dad. I remember that.
That's what I'm thinking of. That's the story I'm thinking of. Yeah. Have an inheritance. Let's see. Zelophehad. The daughters of Zelophehad. So, like Shoshana just mentioned, it's in Numbers 27, 1 to 11. I'm going to write this down. Numbers 27. I knew it was in one of these instances that this law they're referring to is talked about. Here, let me get a pencil on.
Sure.
I want to write this down on a post-it note here. Yeah, so Zelophehad, I forget what tribe he's from. I think, let's look at this real quick. Numbers 27, 1 to 11. Go to Numbers 27, 1 to 11. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Manasseh. Yeah, it seems like they're of Manasseh of Joseph. So they would be of the tribe of Joseph or Manasseh here. Says, then came the daughters of Zelophehad, son of Hepher, son of Gilead, son of Machir, son of Manasseh, from the clans of Manasseh, son of Joseph. And these were the names of his daughters, and then obviously goes into the whole thing of them asking for how will they inherit if they have no male relative. Daughters of Zelophehad, verse 7 here, speak what is right. You should certainly give them a possession of inheritance among their father's brothers and cause the inheritance of their father to pass to them. So ideally, it would be like an uncle is how they're going to get the inheritance. It would pass down from their uncle. And speak to the children of Yashrael, saying, when a man dies, has no son, then you shall cause his inheritance to pass to his daughter. And if he has no daughter, then you shall give his inheritance to his brothers. Yeah. And obviously we know this had to happen in the book of Ruth because all of his sons died. Remember? You had Naomi's husband dead, all his sons dead. So now you have a widow in Ruth that would not be able to have this inheritance without a kinsman redeemer. Now this makes sense. Now this makes sense. So I would say to really cross with Ruth 4, 9, Ruth chapter 4, verses 9 to 10, with Numbers 27, 9, it will make perfect sense if you parallel those accounts there. It'll make perfect sense what's going on here. And all the people that were in the gate, so now we're going back to Ruth here, verse 11 of chapter 4. All the people who were in the gate said, we are witnesses, and elders said, Yahuwah, make your wife who goes in your house as Rachel and Leah, who both together built the house of Yashrael and worked mightily in Ephrathah. There shall be a name there in Bethlehem. Does yours mention Ephrathah, Mom?
Yep.
Okay, just double checking. Sometimes the Masoretic will leave out Ephrathah.
Nope.
Okay. All right. And let your house be as the house of Perez, who Tamar bore to Judah of the seed which Yahuwah shall give you of his handmaid. And Boaz took Ruth, and she became his wife, and he went into her, and Yahuwah gave her conception, and she bore a son. And the woman said to Naomi, Baruch Yahuwah, who has not suffered a redeemer to fail you this day, even to make your name famous in Yasharal. He shall be to you a restorer of your soul, and one to cherish your old age. For your daughter-in-law, which you have loved, who is better to you than 7 sons, has borne him. And this is encouragement to our sisters that can't, physically bear children.
That's right.
Because Ruth was almost like a adoptive daughter. Really, if you think about it, she was a widow this whole time, and Naomi was treating Ruth as her own daughter. And Naomi took a child and laid it in her bosom and became a nurse to it. And the neighbors gave it a name, saying, a son has been born to Naomi, and they called his name Obed. This is the father of Jesse, father of Daud. And these are the generations of Perez. Perez begot Esron, and Esron begot Aram. Aram begot Aminadab. And Aminadab begot Nasan, and Nasan begot Salman, and Salman begot Boaz, and Boaz begot Obed. And Obed begot Jesse, and Jesse begot Daud. And that's it. That's the book of Ruth right there. So we see the start of Messiah's lineage, his genealogy, okay, and how that's important. So for those out there that think that Gentiles can't be saved and this and that, here you have a ethnic Moabitess coming into Israel, grafted in, becomes a ancestor of according to the flesh of Yahusha. So now Yahusha's lineage includes Gentile lineage. So those of you out there that you know who you are, that think you have to be natural Israel to be saved, might want to look at that. You might want to look at also who Job is ethnically. Might want to look at that as well, because Job was a ethnic Edomite. So Abraham, see, where they're going to work their way around that, Mom, is that Abraham was the father of the Hebrews, and that he's Shem line and all that. So they wouldn't even consider that a contradiction in their doctrine, because he was the father of the Hebrews and the father of the Abri people. Their thing is about that it has to be you have to be of Abraham's children to be saved and all that. So you couldn't really use that against them.
To their own argument, then they contradict themselves, because Esau is Shem. He is Abari. He is a Shemite.
Yeah. And so you would have to throw that out. You would have to you would have to ignore Masha's wife. What was his second wife? That was Ethiopian Amite. So Yahuwah defended his wife, his Ethiopian wife. So by Yahuwah defending him because Miriam's making fun of his Ethiopian wife, it doesn't even make any sense if she's not supposed to be part of Yashral. Makes zero sense. There's many places in scripture that's like that. Just even if you look at the Greek of the New Testament, where it talks about in Revelations, it says where it says nations, it's supposed to be ethnicities. It's actually supposed to say ethnicities. So literally, it would be a multitude from every ethnicity.
Yes.
Does anybody else? Is anybody else getting Doug freezing up for a few minutes? Or is it me?
You know what, sis? Try coming back in. It could be from my side, but it could be from your side as well. Try coming back into the app, like leaving and coming back in, and see if it's still doing that.
Yeah, I'm not having any issues.
Sometimes you just gotta like refresh your device in the app. Sometimes that just happens. But yeah, that's pretty much the end of Ruth. What I'm gonna do here is, and Brother Yahusha reminded me last time, let's stop the live here, create a new live for our first Samuel readings, just so that it's easier for Brother Yahusha to do the thumbnails.
Oh yeah.
And all that. It's going to be a lot harder if I try to combine them. Plus, it's going to be a very long. I mean, I'm pretty sure we've already went over an hour on this study already. So let me just. We'll be back, everyone, in a second. We're going to go on another live, on another YouTube live. So everyone on YouTube, just stay tuned. We'll be back